Hello, MotoAmerica fans. This is Paul Carruthers, and this is our first 2023 podcast off track with Carruthers and Bice. I'm joined as always by Sean Bice. He's out in beautiful Ohio. I'm in semi-beautiful Southern California. A little pissy about the rain, but I'll get over it. Sean, I actually, one of my smart ass friends the other day left me a message that said, hey, was your New Year's resolution to not do any more podcasts? So I think
that's paying attention. Wow.
I know. I mean, obviously, I was happy to know that he was missing our podcast, but yeah, it has been, God, has it been 2 weeks? I don't know.
We broke our streak bad.
Yeah, but you know what? We broke a streak, and that just means that we can, we have a streak to break. Otherwise, it just continue to go on. This way we can say, oh, we'll only take 1 week off next year,
Well, I mean, we become such big stars, Paul. We had to take, a little bit of time off like these people do. I mean, you got to recharge your batteries a little bit, I guess. So
right. And there's like vocal exercises that you've got to do over the holidays that I found that like pouring liquor down your throat actually makes you sound better on your podcast. So I practiced that for a little bit.
Yeah, and my testicles finally dropped, so hopefully I'm getting a little more octave to my voice.
Whoa. We went from weather to testicles. Welcome to 2023. Well, look, I'm excited because we love Garrett Gerloff on this show, obviously. He's a two-time MotoAmerica Supersport champ. He won 4 MotoAmerica Superbike races. Then he left to go to World Superbike, which was very cool because it gave us a reason to pay more attention to World Superbike racing because we had an American. And he's still there. It's actually gone by, I think it was 2020, 2021, and 2022. So he's had 3 years there now. It seems like yesterday that he was winning Supersport races. But then again, if you think about it, it seems like a really long time ago. So it depends on your train of thought at the time. But yeah, he's a World Superbike star now. And I think there's a little bit more interest in Garrett now because for the first time that anyone can remember, he's going to be racing something other than a Yamaha. And I know we talked to him towards the end of his season last year when he'd made a decision to leave Yamaha, but we were still a bit early and he wasn't really telling us exactly where we were going. So Sean, you've been holding off, I know, on getting the tattoo changed from the Yamaha that you have on your, I believe, left shoulder to something else. Is it going to be a BMW tattoo now, or are you just going to hold off?
Well, the nice thing is that both of them are roundels. So, I don't know. No, I'm going to leave it there, but I do have another blank shoulder, and I'll tell you, this morning when my wife left for school, she smiled at me and said, make sure you say hi to Garrett because he's her favorite rider. And I think she's going to get the tattoo on her shoulder at this point, the way it's going. So
yeah, I think I told you guys last time where I was thinking about getting mine, but I haven't decided fully what I'm going to do with it yet. But I thought BMW on your penis would work. And wow. When you got a little excited, it could actually say the Bavarian Motor Work. All right, let's talk to Garrett. Garrett, you're in Texas?
Dude, what am I walking into right now?
What is going on?
There's way too much male genitalia talk going on for me.
It's gone crazy.
Also, it's good to know that the MotoAmerica, higher ups aren't biased or anything with, manufactured tattoos and whatnot.
Oh, well, I don't I can tell you that much. I mean, but Paul likes to remind everybody that I have it on there, which is always nice when I'm trying to be unbiased in the paddock. But
oh no, Sean, the best thing to do is face it. Like if you try to hide it, then it makes it look like you're biased. If you just like, hey, everybody makes mistakes when they're kids.
Oh gosh.
But Garrett, so I'm thinking, I could be wrong, but it seems like the last motorcycle that you raced that wasn't a Yamaha was like a Milwaukee MD250. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, I'm not here to promote other brands too much, but I will say that the last 600 I rode that was before Yamaha was yellow. So I'll give you a hint. But yeah, it's been pretty much all Yamaha my whole life. So definitely changed after so many years.
Okay, so look, we actually before we went on here, we were talking to you about your video and your YouTube channel and this and that. You've done 2 videos. Now I watched the last one or the newest one yesterday, and it again, good job, and I'm glad you're doing those. I think our fans are going to be interested in subscribing to your YouTube channel and seeing what Garrett Gerloff does through the course of the season. So we're both pleased to hear that you're going to carry those videos on, because it gives us a little insight to you and your team and what you got going on, and that's wouldn't ordinarily be something we could focus on until we can talk to you, and we know how much you like to hide away from us. So, but anyway, the last video was actually cool because it was your first ride on the BMW. Now, unfortunately, you were at Jerez in Spain, and it rained like hell, it looked like. So you didn't get any dry time on the bike, but at least you got to ride the bike, and you'll be well prepared if the first race is wet. But you've got some other tests coming up, I imagine. But why don't you tell us a little bit about, your first ride on the bike, your initial impressions, even though it was wet, and how you feel at this point in time getting ready for the next season.
Yeah, man, I was so bummed to get there and see the weather forecast saying it was going to rain for all 3 days, because we were there for 3 days this time, not just like the normal 2. And literally that week, it was only rain on the 3 days that we were riding, and then before and after it was sunny. And when I got there the day before, it was sunny, and I was just shaking my head like, of course, this is how it's going to go down. But I mean, I still got to feel the bike out pretty good, even though it's just in the rain. And I'm pretty like optimistic at the moment. The thing's crazy fast. Like it just the way it revs and everything. And there's a video on my Instagram of it going down the straightaway, and it just sounds like a rocket ship, man. It sounds like an F1 car. Like it's just it's pretty cool, and it's nice to have a bit of extra power on the straightaway. Make it a bit easier to stay with guys or pass them on the straight in the draft and whatnot, instead of kind of just struggling to stay in the draft, which has been like kind of an issue for me in the past. So, but handling wise too, the bike feels good. Like I was really happy with the way the front end felt in the wet. Again, like it's all wet stuff, so it's hard to kind of say if that's going to translate over to in the dry. But in the wet, the front end felt really good. Felt like really connected to the track. I had a lot of feeling. I knew what was going on. The thing was turning not too bad. Also, definitely with all that power, was easy to spin the rear tire on the exits of every corner. But the BMW has like really, they have their own proprietary electronics and stuff, and it seems like it's like pretty well calibrated. And so I could feel all the systems working on the exit, and it was it was cool just to feel something different, to feel something new. And it's like drawing me in. Like I'm like there's all this newness around me and all this newness under me, and it just feels it's like motivating me a lot. And I'm just like really paying attention to everything. And also with my new crew chief, or not new, but my old crew chief coming back with me, Les Pearson. He's like super amped up about the BMW, and he's seeing so much stuff on the data already that I haven't seen, or it seems like that other people haven't on the team haven't really seen. And it's like, I don't know, I'm just super motivated to try to figure it out and get good results for him.
The cool, one of the real cool parts of that story, Garrett, is I think you told us this before with regard to Les, who you worked with, not recently, but previously, and had a relationship with him, is you didn't make Les coming on the team a factor in signing a contract, but they actually got him to the team almost as a courtesy to you, or to show, I suppose, their support of you right off the bat. So is that how it went?
No, I wanted to go somewhere where Les could come back with me. I mean, it wasn't my decision in the first place for Les to leave working with me. Like that was a decision made. What?
No, you're right. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I remember that he left that team, but it wasn't your choice. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, no, it wasn't what I wanted at all. I just got brought into a meeting where they were like, all right, here's the deal. He's gone, this guy's in. And I was like, what? Are you serious? Anyway, so the prospect of going to a different team, one of the main things was I want Les working with me again. And it was something that was like pretty dependent on me signing or not. So I'm really happy that BMW was on board with that. And it was no disrespect to whoever was already there in a crew chief position. It was just that I have a really good relationship with Les. Like we talk all the time, even when we weren't working together. And he's just a real smart guy, knows what he's doing. And I knew that, well, we worked through a lot on Yamaha and got from being in the back in 2020 to being at the front in 2020. And a lot of it was, some different ideas that he had and his attitude and everything. And I knew that that's what we needed going forward with a new team. And this bike's got a lot of potential. I think we both think that, but it's been a struggle for those guys for the last few years. It looked like last year in 2022, they started making some real steps, but still it wasn't as consistent. And so I knew I needed somebody that was that had, a good head on their shoulders and had a good understanding of everything, going into bike setup and whatnot. And yeah, he was my guy for sure.
So this bike is different than last year's. When you were at the test, obviously it's in the wet, you couldn't do too much with it. And you could see it was the new bodywork, but did you actually were you on the new bike?
Yeah, it was, there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of changes between like 2022 and 2023. Bodywork's a big one, and a few other small changes, but that's need to know basis only. Anyway, yeah, it was just a wet. I couldn't tell a whole lot of difference, and I actually never went out. I never rode the 2022. I went straight on the 2023 because there was really no point in doing a back to back. It was all right. This is what it is. Like, it's gonna be raining, so let's just ride the new one. And I felt good, but I don't have any comparison between the two.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you related to that new bike anyway, but just going from the bike you previously rode to the one you're on now, they're both inline fours. We always hear about the speed and horsepower that BMW's had. Does it feel real different from the point of view of the engine, the chassis, the ergonomics? Does it feel way different than what you were on, or has it got kind of a similar feel at all?
It feels quite a bit different. I was actually surprised how close it felt to, or how much more similar it felt to the MotoGP bike that I rode in a couple of different ways. Not every way, but a couple of different ways. I could tell that the chassis and everything right away felt quite a bit stiffer. Everything felt, and that was more in line with the MotoGP bike that I rode. And also how fast the bike revved, that was really similar to the GP bike also. So I mean, and the length, like the gas tank's pretty long, and so it kind of pushes me back a little bit farther, which I actually liked, and kind of felt like it gave me, like it had a bit more room, and all those things felt different, but I thought they were all positive. So
it's interesting you hear you about the acceleration and the spinning up. It sounds like that's something that you like, because I heard for this year that it's got a little bit of a lighter crankshaft and it's supposed to really rev fast. And so you like that, it sounds like.
Yeah, it definitely revs quick. I mean, it can have positives and negatives. I mean, if it's lighting up the rear all the time, that's probably a negative. But as far as like having the bike straight up and down and going down the straightaway, if it's more powerful and you're picking up speed faster, that's definitely a positive. So it's all about managing everything together as one package.
It's been interesting, Garrett, during this past year. I don't know if you knew it or not, but you may have, that, we were covering you pretty every weekend. We would do stories on, practice, every session you had. And credit to that team that you were with before. Their PR was great about providing information and photos for us. So we were able to use that. But the thing that was uncanny, especially I noticed towards the end of the year, and maybe it was because once we knew where you were going and who was going to be your teammate, but it was kind of ironic that you and Baz were close together on two different makes of bikes last year, and this year your teammates. So I obviously you know him. How well do you know him? And I mean, obviously that he raced in our series, so we know him as a MotoAmerica rider, just like you're a MotoAmerica rider. So what's it like with him as a teammate? And tell us about just early days with the test. Did you talk to him about the bike, and did he say anything about the last year's versus this, or did he give you any tips or anything like that to start with?
Yeah, it is funny. I don't know who's following who, but yeah, he went Yamaha and then BMW pretty much. I mean, yeah, in MotoAmerica he was riding something else, but I was also thinking about it. Cameron Bouvier, he was a Yamaha guy forever, and now at least it looks like he's riding a BMW next year. So I think that's pretty funny. All the world racer, the world MotoAmerica racers, they seem to be following similar paths. But yeah, I like Lewis a lot. He's a cool guy, and he races hard, but I mean, he's not afraid to get raced hard with. You know, some guys, they'll race you hard, but then they just whine and complain whenever you give it back to them. And Loris doesn't seem to be that way. He's all about giving and taking it. So, and back when I was on Yamaha, he was really cool about, talking to me, helping me out with a few things. And I would say with the BMW stuff, yeah, for sure, he gave me some advice, some small stuff, but also at the same time, when I'm going into this, ride a new bike, I don't want to have a lot of information in my head. It's better to have my mind as blank as possible, so that when I go out, my initial impressions aren't being pushed in one direction or the other by talking to somebody else. So I actually was trying to restrain myself and not talk to too many people about too many things, and also they weren't giving me a whole lot of info, because it can muddy what I say about the bike. So it's better to just kind of not know anything, go out, and then have those initial comments. So but I did know some stuff just from throughout 2022, hearing different things on different websites and stuff, or just talking to people back before I was even considering going to BMW. And so I knew kind of some of the issues that they had. But I remember I had a meeting with Bonovo in the Czech Republic, and I saw Loris in the truck, and he was saying like, "Hey, this is a really good team. Like, if you do come here, I think it'd be awesome for you, and whatnot." But he did tell me like, "But the bike's kind of an animal, so just be aware." And I thought that was a nice heads up, but I haven't felt that yet. So maybe that's a good thing so far.
I think it's also ironic that back when you were racing in Supersport, you famously raced against another Frenchman, Valentin Debise, and these French guys don't seem to they kind of give 0 Fs, as they say, right? And I think we saw that in Loris too. Both guys are nice guys, but you would battle quite a bit with Debise. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Baz. I think they're two different people completely. I'm not trying to chalk it up to, oh, they're just French, they're all that way. But it is kind of interesting that you've had experience with racing against some pretty gnarly French guys, even in MotoAmerica, and certainly with Baz being around you in World Superbike. So that's kind of an interesting thing that you've got a teammate now who's French. Is anything about that?
It's funny because I've seen Davis quite a few times over the last few years in World Superbike, because he's done a couple Super Sport wildcards, and so like I've seen him and said hi and whatnot, and I mean, we're cool now, but I remember back in 2016 and 2017 we were not friends at all. And there was some choice words thrown back and forth between us, but now everything's all good. So it is funny just to see time go on, people go different places, and then yeah, I guess relationships change. But it's it's been nice seeing familiar faces, and there's a ton of guys that have raced in MotoAmerica and are now racing on the world stage. So that's pretty cool to see.
All right, I wasn't sure I'd ever get to speak again on this podcast, but I'm
Hey, you're back.
take advantage of a break from Sean. But I was curious to see what your feelings were. Scott Redding kind of stirred up some stuff towards the end of the year, with this rider weight thing, bike weight, combined weight. Alvaro Batista's too small, as Ducati's too fast. Where do you stand on that? I mean, and for starters, when you turned into Arnold Schwarzenegger over the winter last year, did you gain weight or did you stay the same?
Yeah, I gained a little bit of weight. I am heavier now for sure. Not by much, but by a little bit. And I mean, yeah, that was quite a debate online. I mean, for me, you know, everybody has their own opinion and whatnot. For me, it's, hey, you got what you got, and figure it out to the best of your ability with what you have. I do understand that influencing rule changes can help or hurt you, and that you want to be aware of those things, and have input when it's necessary, and so I'm always pretty neutral about most things, and I am also on this case. So I mean, if they change the rules to have minimum weights and whatnot, all right, it is what it is, and I'm gonna do my best to find my way through it and do the best that I can. If they don't make any changes, same deal. Like, it is what it is, and I'm gonna have to find out how to do my best with that situation. So I mean, I try not to get too caught up in it, just because I know there's other people that are already doing that for me, like Scott, for example, or on the other side, I know Alvaro was pretty, had some comments to say and stuff. So I mean, they're already doing their debate. Why do I need to get involved? Like, it'll be what it is, and then I'll just try to do the best I can with whatever the result ends up to be, whether they make changes to the rider weight or not. Yeah, it is what it is. But I mean, I'm trying to lose weight right now. Like, that's all I can do is just kind of control what's in my hands, and my weight's one of the things that I can control. So I'm gonna focus on that, and yeah, for sure, lighter is better. So I'll just try to get lighter and lighter, and try not to starve myself to death.
I was always wondering if there was a combined weight, if you'd be better off being a fat guy on a light bike or a light guy on a big bike. But
I think it's the light guy on a big bike.
yeah.
There's only so much. There's only so much weight a tire can handle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to see somebody win and then people complain about why he won. I mean, the guy can obviously ride a motorcycle, whether he had the best motorcycle or not. I mean, it's not real fair to try to take away, what he accomplished. And but anyway,
yeah,
and then it's funny because over there it's like, oh, the Ducati's too good, and then over here it's like, oh, the Yamaha's too good. So it comes down to whoever's winning. Everybody else complains, I guess.
I mean, I don't care. I think the more controversy, the more eyes on what we're doing. So I mean, whatever. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to race a motorcycle. So yeah. And I mean, I guess if it is just a weight thing, then Alvaro should have dominated on the last bike he was on too, which was also a rocket ship. So right. I mean, but I can see what they're talking about on both sides, and that's why I'm neutral. I'm like, all right, well, obviously you both have really good points, so good luck, Dorna, on making decisions on everything.
Now, you mentioned earlier in the conversation about top speed, and from watching the races, you're perfectly accurate. I mean, when I was watching you could draft somebody, pull out of their draft, but not have enough to just pass them cleanly in the next corner. And I think the BMW will be faster. And I mean, when it comes down to it, if you could pick anything, most people would still pick top speed, right?
Yeah, it depends. It does depend on a lot of stuff. I mean, how well you exit the corner before also has a big part to play in how you get down the straightaway, how you catch somebody's draft or not. So, I mean, there was a couple weekends last year where I just couldn't get off the corner as well as I'd like. And because of that, I wasn't able to catch a draft, which made the whole situation like worse going into the next braking area. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of factors to it. But if you have better top speed and more power, if you can manage it on the exit of the corner, then it just makes it way easier to get to pass somebody in the draft and be already in front of them braking for the next corner, depending on how long the straightaway is. So, yeah, I would say it's still definitely a positive. More power normally is more better.
More better.
Yeah.
So Gary, you were last year, well, not last year, but since you've been in World Superbike, you've been an independent rider on an independent team, and you're doing that again this year. And I personally, when you were #1 independent rider, would go crazy as a PR guy and make a point of that in the stories I would write about you. I know from talking to you and talking to, Tim Robinson, who was over there. Yeah, you'll take a #1 independent rider, but obviously the points to win the race. how do you feel about going forward with that? I mean, does it matter to you at all? Because you're just going to go for winning anyway, no matter what.
I mean, yeah, I'm always going to go for the best result I can get. And I don't think, I mean, if you look back 10, 15 years ago, I would say being on a satellite team was a huge disadvantage. But I don't really see that being the case anymore. I mean, you can look at MotoGP and how like Bastianini and who else, like just Martin and Zarco, those guys on, you know, satellite Ducatis most of the time are doing better than the guys on the factory Ducatis. And same thing with other manufacturers. So, I mean, I think now it's just the manufacturer wants to be closer at the front, and they'll take it with whatever team, you know, they have. And so I see BMW really motivated to get results. And I mean, when I was at the test, I had, you know, damn near half the factory team there with us. So, I mean, we were, Loris was testing some different stuff, and they were all ears right there, listening to everything he said. When I came in, I had, you know, 30 people around me listening to what I had to say. And so, I mean, they're definitely motivated. And I think at this point, they don't care where the result comes from. They just want results. And I definitely am a fan of that. And so also, I mean, I really enjoy the team that I'm with, the Bonovo guys. They're all super down to earth, funny, really efficient at what they do. You know, I'm actually like really impressed with what I've seen so far. And I think that, you know, I think that I have everything that I need to go out there and try to get good results. I don't think it's a negative being where I'm at all. So, and, you know, back to the last couple of years, I also think that was mostly the case. So, you know, now it's just manufacturers are the more pieces they have on the board, the better chance that they have somebody that'll get the job done. And so I'm just one of those pieces hoping to make it happen.
We had seen well, definitely heard from you talking about him, and also seen from the videos that you had a great relationship with Kota Nozani. But the thing is, on the track, I mean, he's a crazy person, it seems like, but on the track, there's a little bit of a disparity between the two of you guys. And I go back to this thing, and I know you're on two different bikes, but here you and Baz were together a lot. Now you're on the team. Do you think that Baz's data might be more usable or relatable to you than it might have been with Nozani? And that's not taking anything away from him. He was just a different sort of rider. How do you think that might compare as a teammate goes?
Well, luckily, I've always had like full data or full access to all the data from Toprak, Locatelli, from all the Yamaha guys, and so there was never like I was never limited to just my teammates' data. But yeah, for sure. I mean, Loris is definitely strong, and he was top BMW a couple weekends last year, and so you know, I want to beat my teammate more than anybody, and so that competition can be really good. And it can also like get you in the dump sometimes because you know if your teammate's doing really well and you aren't, it's like what is going on? But you know, I'm happy to have a really strong teammate, and I know that we can push each other to be better and better. And you know, like I said in that video, I mean, we might not always be friends because we're both super competitive, but if we keep pushing each other and we keep going closer and closer to the front, I mean, that's all that really matters.
That's interesting about Toprak, Garrett. I didn't know that. And that was my next thing to bring up was, I'm not going to go back to stuff in the past with that, but I do want to point out something I had noticed, and you could tell me what you think. Toprak and you seem to be pretty good friends. I saw you and him talking to each other quite a bit. I was a little surprised about that. You seem to get along pretty well with him. Is that the case?
Yeah, for sure. No, Toprak's the man. He's super cool. He talks with everybody, super open. Like I remember we were at the Jerez test a few weeks ago, and Toprak came over to tell Loris about different places on the track where he should be careful. Just, I mean, for no reason whatsoever. So, no, Toprak's the man. He's super cool. He's you know, a real down to earth guy, real understanding, like, and doesn't seem to hold any grudges. So that's pretty cool. And I'm a big Toprak fan, honestly. Like he's a super good guy, and it was awesome to see him win the championship in 21. Like that was really cool to see. I was really happy for him. And you know, I respect his fight. Like he's always fighting and giving it everything he has, and you know, I do respect that, and I want to try to, embody that also even more than I already do.
Okay, Garrett, I know you're home in Texas now. How long, what's your off season look like? I mean, do you get to hang out at home for quite a bit? You obviously have some more tests coming up. How soon are those tests, et cetera?
Yeah, so I go back over there on January 15th, back to Europe, and really excited about it. I mean, all I can think about is the bike and riding the bike in the dry and getting more time on it. I mean, this off season is going to be nothing. It's going to fly by because I think in the beginning of February, I have to be on a flight to Australia already. And so, I mean, I'm like a month away from my season starting, and I've only done one test on the bike in the wet. So, I mean, that's kind of nerve-wracking a little bit right there, but it's given me a ton of motivation. And what I've been doing back home here is just, enjoying time with family and friends. But I've also been busting my ass when it comes to my diet and my training and everything. That's one of the YouTube videos that I'm planning on having coming out here in the next month or so. It's kind of my preseason training, what I do, my diet and stuff. And I feel like I'm in pretty decent shape right now and pretty close to the target weight I want to be at. So that's been going really well, even though I had to deal with Christmas and New Year's, and I have a friend right here for the next week, and so it's hard to stay on the diet and everything. But that's what I've been working on since being here, and also riding as much as I can, like some motocross and on my mini moto bike at the kart track. So that's kind of what I've been working on. And then when I get back to Europe, I think it's like a week after I land, which I don't know the date, but I go to Jerez again, and I have 2 days there, hopefully in the dry. And then I go to Portimao directly after, and hopefully 2 more days in the dry. And then all that stuff's getting packed up and on a boat or plane to Australia. So not much of an off season this year, but it does keep me more focused and more motivated to get things done. That timeline or that deadline is like right there in front of me, and I can see it clearly, and it kind of helps me not procrastinate as much as I might otherwise would. So yeah.
All right, we've got Cameron Beaubier coming back this year. Now, you and Cameron are close, and you always have been. And I know you lived at his house way back in Northern California, et cetera. Cameron struggled in Europe because a lot of the reasons he struggled, and I'm not talking about on the racetrack, I just think he's more of a homebody than you ever were. Like after the races, he was very intent on flying back home and being at home, whereas you'd like jump in a van and drive across the country or do something along those lines. And I think because of your personality versus his personality, it's allowed you to adapt to life in Europe a lot better than what Cameron was able to do. He just wasn't happy with the life of, I think he's fine at the racetrack, but I just think away from the racetrack, I just think he was really homesick. Am I right with that? I mean, it seems like you've always like adapted well to whatever the situation is and just make the most of it. Or has that changed a little bit? Do you tire of being over there or not?
Yeah, I mean, well, first, like to each their own, I totally respect Cameron and what he did coming over here or coming over to Europe, and then his decision to go back to the States and everything. Like I'm pumped for him to have the opportunity he has to race in the U.S. again and everything. And I think he could have done really well if he would have stayed in Moto2 for another year. But I mean, it all depends on what your priorities are, what your goals are, and that's I got all the respect in the world for what he decides. Yeah, we're definitely close. And I don't want to speak for him, too much, because I'm not 100% sure. But I mean, it can get lonely over there. I know that Shelby wasn't able to be with him the whole time, and he had some stretches on his own, and yeah, it can get pretty lonely. I mean, I was there, but also like we had 2 different schedules, and I lived like 3.5 hours away from him, so it wasn't like wasn't able to get there all the time. And Cameron, if you're listening, I'm still mad that you never came to see me, but I came to see your ass like 3 times. I'm still holding the grudge against that. But anyway, yeah, it can be tough, and I mean for me too, it's difficult. I talk to my family and friends all the time. I mean, luckily we have FaceTime. I can't imagine back in the day, 20 years ago, when you just were paying top dollar just to call somebody for 5 minutes. So I mean, luckily it makes the distance a little bit closer. But still, I mean, once you hang up and you're back to your isolated world, it can be tough sometimes, especially if things aren't going your way. I definitely understand that part where you're just having to deal with it like on your own, it feels like. And I think it also sucks because when I wake up over there at like 7 a.m, I'm not going to hear anything from anybody until 2 p.m, because that's like 7 a.m. here, and that's when like my friends and family wake up. So it's weird to have like 7 hours where you're on like the dark side of the moon and you just have like no communication with anybody that you care about. So I mean, there's things like that yeah, they add up. But I mean, I know what I want to achieve in my life. Like I know what goals I have, and it's been, yeah, it's there's been tough moments for sure, but like I know I can get these goals done. I just need things to come together, and it's not always easy to keep believing, but like, damn it, I know I can do it. So I just try to put my head down and just focus on that, and know that that's what my goals are. And there's nothing, you're never going to achieve anything in life that you want to achieve without some sacrifice. And so if one of those things is being here in the States where I'm definitely more comfortable, I mean, that is what it is. I think being comfortable is a crutch, man. I think the best things in life and the most exciting things in life happen when you're out on the edge and you're real uncomfortable and you don't want to be there, but like, damn it, you're still there and you're pushing through it. Like, I think that's been the most fulfilling part of my journey the last 3 years. And it definitely sucks sometimes, but if you just keep pushing, you never know how close you are to having a breakthrough,
Garrett, I want to go back to the off season a little bit last year, and of course, we all remember. I don't have it on my wall or under my pillow, but that photo of you last year with those ropey veins in your arms and you're all ripped, and I'm like, he's going to get arm pump. I mean, it's crazy. So you had a good year. How did that fitness that you were? I guess maybe you're probably the same now than you were, but you can talk about that. But how did that set up for the season? Did it help you? And you've never
No, short answer, no.
Okay, it didn't. Okay. Have you ever suffered from arm pump at all? I mean, obviously every rider does, but you've never had any operations on it, right?
No, I've never struggled with arm pump. I struggle with arm pump sometimes on a motocross bike, but that's about it. I mean, and what it comes down to for me is if I'm having to fight the bike, whatever it is, I'm going to get arm pump. But if I'm comfortable on whatever bike, there's no way I'm getting arm pump ever. And so like, I would say getting arm pump is just a sign that things could be better on your bike. Basically, it could be treating you nicer. And so, but I mean, the last time I had arm pump on a road race bike, I think was on a 125 back in 2009. So luckily, I don't really struggle with it. I just try to, not use my arms too much, only when I have to, and use like my core and my legs more so. But yeah, like I said, on a motocross bike, if I haven't ridden for a while, for sure I get the worst arm pump in like 2 or 3 laps, just because I'm just uncomfortable and I'm just gripping everything too tight. And so it's not that big of a deal on the road race bike though. And I mean, I think people also associate being, well, I mean, what you were talking about, you were saying like I looked like I could have arm pump. Like, no, I don't think that's really the case or how it works. I think it just comes down to comfortability. And back to when I said no, it didn't help me. I mean, I felt good in testing and everything, but then we got to the first race and everything just seemed to fall apart a little bit. And that's one of the hardest things about testing when we do is that, well, everywhere, but in Europe, it's quite a bit cooler in the winter, obviously. I mean, I'm not saying anything revolutionary, but the tires work different and they work better in cooler temps. And also the bike has a bit more power in cooler temps. So it's like everything that we find testing, once we get to the first race and it gets warmer and hotter, it's like everything just, nothing correlates anymore. And so I've struggled with that the last couple of years, but obviously I've had my eyes open and trying to figure out like, all right, this is how it feels in the cooler temps and it feels this much better. So like in the heat, maybe it'll only feel, 5% better and things like that. It's kind of probably some stuff we're going to have to figure out at the next 2 tests also. But yeah, so last year, the last test we did at Aragon, a week before the race, it was like 10 degrees Celsius, which is like 50 something. And then we got to the race a week later, and it was like 25 Celsius, which is like 80 degrees. And it doesn't sound like the biggest jump, but when it comes to track temperature and everything, it was a huge jump, and it just felt like nothing was working again. So anyway.
Yeah, you know, and you mentioned, you teased us with the fact that you're coming out with a video about your fitness. So obviously you're approaching this next season a little different than you did last season. So that'll be interesting to see that. We look forward to that video. One of the things I want to ask you about is there is a young rider in our series who runs the same number as you, and that young rider thinks the world of you, especially because you were with that young rider when I'm going to say she was at her finale over in Europe. And that was really cool, Garrett, that you did that and you supported her. And I think you were a good luck charm for her, because I mean, she was kind of middle of the pack a lot in the previous year of that series, and look what she did that weekend. But talk to us about your relationship with Kayla Yakoff a little bit.
Yeah, she kicked ass, man. I thought she was going to win that second race for a second. Tim and I were watching it in the pits, and I mean, yeah, she was doing awesome, and she came from way back too. Like, she was in 10th place, I think, in the beginning of the race or around there, and then just like kept working her way toward the front and was leading at one point. And we were all amped up, and I to be honest, I don't know her really at all. That first time I met her was at Portimao, and so. But I thought it was cool that she was running my number. I'm claiming it now. It's my number.
Right. It is.
And what?
It is your number. I'm sorry. I just wanted to underscore that. And she knows it, by the way. Okay.
No. But she was really cool, and I was happy to see her get on the podium. At least that was one American that got a podium that weekend, unfortunately for me. Yeah, that actually Portimao was a really fun weekend because Jay Gagne was there, and like a lot of the team guys that I worked with back in the day. And yeah, it was a cool vibe. It wasn't the best weekend for me, but I still had a good time. So Kayla, keep kicking ass, and maybe we'll see you one day in World Superbike. Come on.
You know, Garrett, you touched on this, and I've always felt this about you. Every rider faces adversity. There's no surprise about that, but you've had a fair share of adversity over time. I mean, obviously the femur at Daytona and all the things you faced, obviously in World Superbike and weird crap that happens. Like, have you ever heard of a rider having a tire problem like you had last year?
No, in the Czech Republic. Yeah, there was somebody, I think Iker Lecuona had the same problem in race 2, but yeah, it's weird. I mean, sometimes, things happen, and sometimes there's no reason for it. You're just like, you're left just having to deal with the end result. And I mean, I don't like adversity, obviously, but I've definitely learned to appreciate it, because it just makes the story more interesting. Like, if you just always have success, like, it's just not even exciting anymore. It's just the new normal. And then you stop like appreciating it, and so like, it's definitely made me appreciate everything more, because you never know how long it's going to be till the next time you have something good happen, like you get on the podium or something like that. And so it's really made me like appreciate every good moment, and all the adversity just helps me. It helps. Well, when you go through something that challenges you, and when it's not going your way, it helps you to like open up your horizon, open up your eyes, and you start to see everything that you're doing wrong in life, or like or things that you can improve on. And it's like it puts the microscope back on you and what you can be doing different to try to, maybe mitigate some of the things that are happening to you. And so I think everybody needs that a little bit, because, we're not always doing what we should be doing, and it can affect everything. And yeah, I don't know. But I've learned to appreciate adversity, and I think it's something that everybody can hear and relate to a little bit.
Well, pressure makes diamonds, as they say.
Yeah, that's it.
The other part of this, I know we're getting close to wrapping up here, but I want to ask you, going forward to these tests in the off season, obviously preseason tests are always a big deal. They're going to be an especially big deal for you with a new team and a new bike this year. How much stock though should we take in how you do at these tests as pointing towards the season?
None.
And
None.
why is that, Garrett? Why?
Well, again, I've never ridden the bike in the dry, so whether it goes really well or it goes really bad, I'm still trying to figure out everything basically. And so, even if say it goes really good, like too good, I still don't understand the whole bike. I won't understand the whole bike. I won't understand, the bike at every track and every condition. Like, no, I would say don't look into it too much. But it's gonna be, we're just gonna be getting information for the rest of the year. And I would rather start the year off slow and finish strong as can be than start strong and fade off. So gonna do our best to be as strong as we can from the beginning, but we'll just take it one race at a time.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about you, Sean, but now I feel really motivated to quit being a whiny little bitch about the California rain and go ride my bicycle no matter what. Because that's what Garrett Gerloff would do. And the other thing I want to mention, Garrett, he brought it up a little bit earlier. I wouldn't have mentioned it if he didn't, but I think Sean does have those photos under his pillow.
Okay, yes, I do. I do.
So
oh my God.
I just want you to know. And I honestly, when I saw the photos, I'm like, this is Photoshop. And then people are like, no, it's not. And I'm like, it's gotta be.
No,
That's
bro,
not Garrett.
no. I mean, dude, I bust my ass. I don't always well, I mean, only the people that know me know that. I try not to, put it out there too much because, one, I don't want to motivate my competition to do the same thing. And two, I mean, I do it for me more than anything. So, but yeah, like I said, I'll have this YouTube video coming out. Might be good, might not be good, who knows, but I'll let y'all be the judge of that. But I feel like I'm in pretty damn good shape right now. And that's just one step. That's one thing I can do, one thing I can control, to try to, get the best results I can. So we'll see if it all adds up.
Well, I think if Sean and I watch the video, we'll show up at Daytona new men.
Oh yeah,
that's it, dude. It's all it's all discipline. It all comes down to, you gotta be disciplined with what you eat, especially. That's probably the biggest thing. I'll give you guys that little tidbit now.
And that's my biggest problem is I don't mind doing the work, but then I kind of wreck it with the drinking and stuff like that.
That is the hardest thing, because after you like just go, full gas on a workout, all you want to do is just have something sweet, like you deserve it. But you gotta have discipline around that area, and that is the hardest part. And like I do this like intermittent fasting where I don't eat past 5 p.m. But I'll still go, to dinner with my friends and stuff, and they're getting all kinds of just amazing looking food and desserts and stuff, and I'm just over there drinking water. Like,
yeah, that's hard.
It sucks, dude. It sucks ass, but it's I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. So I'm willing to do it.
One of the funniest things I ever remember about you, Garrett, and I think it was maybe when you were in Supersport and probably when you won the championship, but it was at New Jersey. I think that was the last round. And you came in and, well, no, it was after the final press conference. You went over and just went nuts on that box of donuts that was sitting there. It was like right after the season. It's like, okay, I've sacrificed enough. So I loved that.
Yeah, man. I mean, you gotta, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you gotta have discipline when it's necessary, and then you gotta like let loose when it's when it's all said and done. So that is the balance you gotta have. But I just live at the extremes. I'm like extreme 100%. Everything I got, I'm gonna do this the right way. 100%, no mess ups, nothing like that. Or I am 100% like off the rails. So I live at the extremes basically.
Yeah, it's all or nothing.
It's all or nothing, man. All or nothing.
Yeah, Cameron used to always I think we've told you this, Garrett, or maybe Cameron has. You guys would go do moto. You would scare the crap out of him. He would say, "Look at him. He's going like his hair's on fire out there. He's gonna really get hurt or something." He was worried about
yeah. I mean, well, I would also say that back when I was riding moto with Cameron, that was when I was like just starting on riding motocross, I would say, and like was learning a lot. So yeah, I was a bit sketchy for sure. I'm still a bit sketchy, but I have a bit more technique now, so you know, but you got to push to find the limits, and then you learn from that. I mean, I don't know. That's how I do it.
That is true.
All right, boys. Well, Garrett, I want to thank you for getting back to me, and we can make this happen. And I have a good feeling for the coming season. I think a fresh start for you is probably exactly what the doctor ordered. I know you'll make the most of it, and yeah, I expect really good things from you, and things will turn out nice, and all that hard work will pay off. But again, thanks for joining us, and happy new year, and good luck for you, and stay healthy, and keep on your fitness program, and go kick some ass.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again. And real quick, I'll just say that everybody listening, I would appreciate if you guys go check out my YouTube channel. I only got 2 videos right now, but I'll have my videographer with me for the next 12 months. So, I mean, there's going to be quite a bit more content coming out, especially during the season and, you know, behind the scenes during the race weekends and stuff. It might not always be pretty, but, you know, it'll be out there, and you guys can, you know, follow along with me as the season goes on. And I think it'll only get better and better. So hope you guys, you know, enjoy that. And I'm definitely investing quite a bit in it. So it would be nice to have everybody go check it out, you know, tell me what you think about it, and you know, just yeah, support the mission. So, but anyway, appreciate you guys again, and yeah, look forward to getting that back on the Beamer.
Yeah, Garrett, and by the way, Garrett, we'll definitely run your content on our website and our social media like we've been doing. And I noticed Road Racing World's doing it too, so you'll definitely get some love from us within MotoAmerica. So count on that.
Man, I appreciate you guys. Thanks a ton.
Thank
All
you.
right, bye-bye.